Hello viewers, Tim Paul here with the Huddle at FDJ's Sustainable Gambling Conference. I'm with Nils Andén, Chief Online Betting and Gaming Officer for FDJ United. Thanks for joining us. You were with us last year in London for the Sustainable Gambling Conference. Your role has changed a little bit since then.
Yes, it has. Of course, in tandem with the kind of successful acquisition by FDJ, I and the rest of the former Kindred company moved into the bigger FDJ family, and I am now responsible for the sort of competitive online part of FDJ.
Mm-hmm. You're going to work. I imagine you work very closely with Stéphane Palais, the CEO. What's that relationship like in terms of C-level and job duties and that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, she's clearly not only the CEO of the group, but also the chairwoman of the board. So she has the responsibility of the overall group strategy and, of course, the overall delivery of financials for the entirety of the group, which, of course, includes, not only the French lottery, but also PLI, the Irish lottery, and payments businesses, etc. So she has that totality of responsibility, whereas I have the responsibility for what we call the competitive online part. Of course, we have the sort of concessions within Monopoly that are not on the same sort of competitive environment that we operate in.
Yeah. As we mentioned, we're at the Sustainable Gambling Conference, and I hope this question doesn't come across as just a simple, easy one. I almost want this to be a deep thinking one, but broadly, it could mean many different things. What, in your mind, as in your role, what does sustainability mean?
That's, I'll try to give a recent answer to that. I think sustainability for me personally within this sector ultimately is around the longevity of our business model. If you think around a customer, any customer we have, I would rather that they spend £10 a month with us for 5 years than come in and lose £500 in 1 month. I think their experience with our products are going to be much better, but also I think for our business model, it's ultimately better. We would rather have the predictability and the long-term kind of sustainable business model. So for me, it's not sort of opposites. It's actually quite, if you really think around what the business model is that we are in and the experience we want to give our consumers, it actually goes hand in hand.
We've had some really interesting panels to kick off the day. AI obviously came up. I think AI will come up in every panel and every interview. But also kind of intervention was discussed, and especially in the lived experience panel. What's your take, I guess, on again, it's a complicated topic, but how an operator such as yourself can intervene in the right ways, how and when and how often?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I do think, as you say, interventions is a huge part of limiting harmful behavior within this industry. And I think with the help of AI over time, it's still fairly nascent as a tool, but my hope is that over time, our interventions, not only kind of the timings of them, but also what interventions we should be doing and when, will just become more and more sophisticated to ensure, of course, a more positive outcome for our consumers, so that we can, slowly but surely try to further limit any harmful behavior for us as an operator.
On this topic recently, Unibet with a £10 million fine in the UK with the Gambling Commission. Just wanted to kind of how you reflect on that ruling.
Yeah, I think we've had, of course, a lot of conversations with the UK Gambling Commission. I think they're one of the most active regulators in Europe. And I think for me, again, it's good that they've highlighted failings on our behalf, but also that we have had the opportunity to have a really good conversation with them in terms of what their expectations are and move forward in a way that not only meets the requirements of the regulators, but also puts our business into a more sustainable mode. No one wants to have these fines. Of course, we're disappointed that we didn't live up to the expectations of the regulator, but I feel very positive about the future.
I was speaking with the Gambling Commission CEO very recently, and on a broader note, he did say that in the UK, compliance has really gone a long way from operators. In terms of that moving forward and what you just mentioned, I guess how important is engagement and from both sides?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. I think the markets where we see this working best is where the regulators have an open dialogue with the industry, with not only operators, but suppliers, other stakeholders around this industry, treatment centers, people with lived experiences. I think it's the collaboration of all stakeholders that leads to ultimately a good outcome. But ultimately what we want to come out of this is, of course, a level playing field. I don't think anyone in this industry wants to compete on responsible gambling. This should be a set standard that we all can adhere to, that we know actually decreases the risk of harmful behavior for our industry. And if we can get to that across all the jurisdictions in Europe, I think that would be a very positive outcome.
I wanted a quick word on it doesn't have to be quick, but the Q3 financials. Maybe an unfair reflection is kind of in your division. We saw some decreases, but the reasons were put forward in terms of tax challenges and also in comparison with the Euros. In terms of moving forward in those markets such as UK and the Netherlands, where there have been tax changes and there in the UK TBC in terms of what further could happen, what plans, I guess, do you have in place to remain as competitive as you can in those markets?
Yeah. I think for us it starts with the consumer and building a truly entertaining and safe experience for our consumers. Of course, married together with a good marketing and a good product portfolio. Taxes is they come and go, but that at least is a level playing field. It applies to everyone that operates in that market. I think both UK and Netherlands are good markets for us that we want to compete in. But at the end of the day, as we've seen across Europe, there has to be a balance between the right level of taxation, the right level of regulation to ensure that the licensed market stays competitive with the unlicensed market that still exists out there.
Mm-hmm. And a final word, I guess if there was one important takeaway point you hope people at this conference move forward with, what would that be? And also, I guess in terms of a positive note for 2026, what are you perhaps most excited about as a C-level exec?
Yeah, so one key takeaway from me is collaboration across all stakeholders around this industry is not only needed, but an imperative to tackle some of the surrounding issues like harmful behaviors while using our products. This is not something that we as an operator can address in isolation. This is something that we only as a holistic industry can tackle. For next year, I'm excited most personally about the World Cup. This is a highlight for me personally, not only as a football enthusiast, but also to see it take place in US, Canada, and Mexico, or US again, since 1994. And Sweden, as you might know, came third in the US 1994. Not looking like we're going to qualify, but there's still the Nations League, so we will see.
Yeah, I think as a Liverpool fan, one thing we might have in common is we need Isak to start scoring goals for us both.
Very much so.
Well, Nils, thanks very much for your time and best of luck with the rest of the conference and the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.